Hello everybody, God willing here. Today we're working on a linen haversack, something I made a few different times. I'm always experimenting, always trying to improve my design. Can't really screw it up that much. So what you want to start out with, you want to go ahead and cut out a piece of linen that's going to be about 2 inches wide by, for me, it's anywhere from 58 to 60 inches. Some of you smaller guys can do about 42, 46 inches, somewhere around there. This one I cut out 2 different halves, sewed them together, so now you get a nice strap. You'll also want to cut out a piece of fabric material, whatever you want to use, cotton, linen. You want to make it about 21.5 inches long. This is, again, my measurements, not anybody else's. This is just how I'm making this one. So this one is 21.5 inches long by 15.5 inches long. I'm sorry, 15.5 inches wide. What I've done is I've went ahead and cut it out. I've sewed about 1/2 inch on each end of the length to kind of hem it up a little bit. I've turned it technically inside out. I pinned it. So our next step on this one's going to be to sew up the edges right here. I don't know if you can really see that. So we'll sew the edges right here, and then when we're done sewing the edges, we'll just reach inside and we'll flip it inside out. The flap will go where it's supposed to go. And then I'll take the flap and I'll actually do another about 1/2 inch hem in there and sew it up on each side. And then if also you want to add a button to the front of it, that's good enough. Or you can leave it like it is. It's also perfect. There are 2 different styles to it, or many different styles to it rather. All you really need for this is some needle, thread. I use a quilting thread. This time I've actually used a unwaxed cotton thread. I don't know if I'll be doing that again. Other than that, it's pretty simple to make. All right, so what you want to do is you want to take your thread, whatever you're using. Like I said, I have this cotton thread to finish it up. Just kind of measure out how much you need. So from there to there, I always double back around because I do a running stitch all the way through and back up. And then also you want to have just a little bit of excess just in case you need it. You'll go ahead and cut the thread, put it through the needle, and tie a knot in one end of it, and you'll start sewing. You always want to keep your stitches about the same length apart. Make sure you're pulling your thread, not too tight enough to rip the material, but tight enough to make sure it doesn't run. I'm just going in one side and out the other right now, and I'm gonna head back up and make sure everything connects. A lot of times I find this kind of relaxing. Some people hate sewing, but it's a necessary skill to have as a frontiersman, especially when you decide to go wilderness or buckskin. You'll make a lot of your own outfit items and a lot of your own clothing. Also a lot cheaper too. You always get extra points on the outfit judging for handmade items. Even if it doesn't look museum quality, you'll still get extra points. Now the standard is to kind of make it look rugged and weathered. So I'll probably take this out and rub it in the dirt and the mud. Or maybe just, run with it while I go outside and just get it dirty. That's the easiest way to get it weathered. So now that I've finished sewing up both sides of this thing, my next goal is going to be to go through. I'm going to trim up the loose threads on the side, or you can skip that. I like to keep mine kind of cleanish. Thankfully, there's not that many of them in this material. It's just like a cotton blend or something. I'm gonna make sure you trim up your knots you tied. Now that's done, you just want to reach in, grab that in, pull it back through. Haversack is almost done. Kind of take your hand in there and work the corners out. Get it to the shape you really want it. Always leave a little bit of point on mine. There we go. Flip that back over. Alright, so now that that's done, see, it's not always going to be a perfect shape, especially if you're not measuring like I am. This one's almost to my liking. Next thing I'm going to do is just take these edges right here, turn them under, and crease them a little bit. You can also pin them if you have pins, and make it try to match the sides of this. This one's actually pretty close. You gotta be kind of careful with it. Make it in there, and there's my crease. And like I said, you can pin it, or you can just crease it and eyeball it like I do. Depends on how much of a perfectionist you are. Some guys really take a huge thing and make it, perfect. Me, I'm not perfect. It's not the way I'm, supposed to be. So I just kind of eyeball my stuff. I try to, get it as close as possible, but eyeballing's okay too if you want to. And then I'll sew the sides of this up. And I might just leave the flap on there as it is, not with the button or anything. And then I'll put the strap on. I forgot to mention, when you are doing your knot, you always want the knot on the inside so nobody can see it. So just make sure that you take that into account whenever you're sewing your hem or whatever you want to call this portion of the haversack. The knot goes on the inside. You got all that sewn up. You got your flap, you got your body of the pouch. It's all good to go. Last thing you gotta do is add a strap to it. So what I usually do for that, I'll take the strap. I will fold down the edge, going under. Usually fold it kind of like that. I'll take that and I'll pin one side of it into place. Actually, let me redo that. There we go, like that. I'll pin. Here we go. Pin one side of it into place. Do the same thing with the other side. Fold it up. Fold it up again. Make sure they're both even as far as spacing goes. You'll kind of pin it and pin it. And you want to try it on, make sure it's where you want it. If it's not, you can always adjust it. And then you'll have to make sure you have them in place till pin. You'll sew through the bottom in a rectangular fashion. Some people go across with an X, secure it. Most of the time I just do the rectangle and that pretty much suffices it. And you're good to go. Here's the finished product. Got a nice handmade haversack. It's not going to win any awards probably, but it's handmade. I'm trim off the little things in a little bit. See? A little handmade. And the last thing I'm probably going to do is just put my totem on it somewhere. Always want to make sure you have your mark on your work so that people know you see who did it.
Always, always put your totem on stuff. Lets everybody know who made it, even if the totem's not perfect.